kitchen toy.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Minions of the Zoo. I am your host, Johnny Hellcat, and with me today are Minions Sanguine
Good evening, all.
and the Camel.
Hello.
How you guys doing today?
I'm sleepy. How are you, Sanguine?
Tickety boo. Just excited to use my new bit of kitchen gadgetry. I got a good kitchen torch that I'm going to be doing some seared salmon with.
Like a creme brulee torch, or
It's like one of those, only on steroids, because this is a meat or dessert torch. So it's a searing torch, not just a creme brulee.
so it's a flamethrower.
Kind of, only smaller. So it doesn't launch like massive
Did you buy it from the
flames,
Boring Company?
but it does shoot flames that are large enough to cook your meat with. And get a good sear on it. So I'll be able to do sous vide steaks that then I just torch the outside. I'll be able to do the seared salmon that I'm going to be doing tonight, which is beautiful sashimi grade salmon. I prepped it 3 ways, so I'll just be taking the torch to the outside so it gets a nice color, but then it's still just delicious, pillowy sashimi on the inside. It'll be fantastic.
It's got electrolytes rotten.
Brondo.
Yeah, it's got the electrolytes the plants crave.
Huh?
Just based
Who
on
who,
just based
who
on
thought
the
that was going to end up being a documentary when they first saw it?
It's so much worse.
Yeah. That just reminds me of, you guys know Seamus and Freedom Tunes, right?
Yeah.
I'm aware, yeah. I mean, I don't know him personally, but I know of him.
You know of. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not asking if you know him personally. But he did his cartoon, was it today or yesterday's cartoon? Of the teacher threatening his 3rd grade class with transitioning. Looks like all of you failed the last test, so we're going to do this again. And if you fail this time, I'm just going to have to assume that all of you are just so overwrought and confused with everything that's going on that you can't focus, you can't study, and I'll have to put forward the paperwork in order to get you all properly transitioned. You can't do that. Wanna bet? My parents would never allow that. Hello, CPS?
I prefer the Marine threatening his math class with killing the class puppy. Have you seen that one?
I have not.
Oh God, I don't know how far back I have to go through my Twitter to find that one.
I remember you
It
mentioned
was a while ago.
Yeah.
But like they were doing some kind of math Olympics or something against other classes from different schools in the area or whatever.
Yep.
And they were leading for the time.
Mm-hmm.
And he's doing like the knife hand and everything.
Nice.
And then he's like, he tells the class, stand by, and he walks out the door, and they all like, echo it back to him.
Mm-hmm.
And he comes back in with like this little like golden lab puppy, and I don't remember what he said the dog's name was supposed to be. He's like, if we end up, like we're in first place right now, but if we end up, losing first place, I kill the puppy. No!
Glorious.
Yeah. Like that was a highly motivated like 5th grade math class or 4th grade, whatever it was.
Buck the vocab pup.
Oh, that's right. Oh, it was vocab, not math. Sorry. Cannibalistic. He remembers. Remember to do your bucking vocab.
Very nice.
Yeah, I remember. Now that he types that out, I remember you talking about that.
Yeah. That was what I remember to do your vocab, kids. Oh man, but yeah, I don't know which one would be more motivation.
Probably the best part about the one from Freedom Tunes was the very end of the coach coming in. Are you threatening these students with transitioning again? No! It looks like you're trying to threaten them with transitioning. He kicks the shit out of the teacher and then turns around to the students. All I'm saying is, you guys have this long to train up. We're either breaking men's records or we're breaking women's. You decide. And you guys, of course, heard the blast from YouTube Past that has popped back up in the news, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Camel, have you heard about it?
I'm aware.
Shall we address the elephant in the room?
Coincidentally.
Or shall we address the Walters watermelon?
Well,
because that wasn't a fucking Adam's apple.
And that voice is still the same too.
Yep. So, do you want to talk about it, Johnny?
I go on. You go ahead and start.
So it was New South Wales, right?
Yep.
Was the area?
Yeah.
New South Wales. There's a women's.
No spoilers, Talik.
There's a women's soccer club that plays, and that apparently has young enough women that their parents were the ones that started to complain when the newest player for their team has been injuring the opposing teams and even her own team during practice. The thing that it took a little bit to come out was that the new teammate that has been injuring people is biologically male. And then what came out a little bit later was, so the person who is playing with girls young enough that their parents were complaining is 30-something.
A flat 30, yeah.
And then the image was released, but censored, and everyone fucking realized it's Riley Dennis.
It's bad when you can tell behind a blur.
Yeah.
Well, like the Daily Mail was censored. What's the other one?
The New
Vox
South Wales
is where I saw it.
Vox's was censored.
What's the one? Monkey and Jack. Redux. Whatever.
Yeah, that's the one I was talking about.
But yeah,
that was uncensored. That was not blurred out.
There's a bunch of them that because it was originally put out by the.
And why the Daily Mail was treating Riley Dennis like a mob witness, I don't understand. You know?
Yeah. But it was put out by the local paper, and they censored it. A bunch of other sources used that picture. And then there were some sources that went, this is fucking Riley Dennis. Here's the picture that they put out. Here's Riley Dennis's picture from their own social media. It's the same fucking picture. Only this one doesn't have his face blurred.
Everyone's getting their feathers ruffled because Riley identifies as a trans woman and playing against girls. It's like, motherfucker is 30.
She's
playing against minors,
non-binary lesbian.
Maybe I'm just getting callous to the whole trans women in sports, but I was like, dude, 30. What are you doing?
Yeah, why are you playing on a team that the women's or girls that play with you, parents are complaining? That was the part that also made me go, the fuck? Because I was going, okay, so it's the other players are complaining. No, it's the players' parents. Which immediately made me go, how fucking young is the rest of the team? Why is a 30-year-old playing with people that are young enough that their parents are the ones that are complaining?
I was like, I mean, if I go and sign up for T-ball right now, like, you think nobody's gonna bat an eye at that? Really? Like,
Yeah.
sure, I'm gonna be crushing it, but somebody's gonna complain because, like, why is this guy, that's the question. 30, like, what the fuck are we doing? Really?
It's dodgeball of Billy Madison all over again.
Yeah, it's...
No, I think it's dodgeball Vince Vaughn all over again. God damn it, Charlene!
Yeah, it's very fucking strange. And just the fact that, again, not only biological male,
There you
females
go,
team,
Cougar Knife.
that's
I
bad.
like your thinking.
But
Better yet, join a youth karate class. Get a huge ego boost.
but 30 fucking something suddenly they're allowed to play with girls young enough that their parents complain.
I mean, what do you think the odds are that there's like people that is either on the team with Riley or playing against that are like young enough to be like Riley's kid? What are they, like 16 to 18 or something like that? Like that's almost in the window.
Yeah.
How was he even able to get into the team anyway? Like, do they just have like, yeah, anyone can join?
Eyeliner, a crop top, and long hair, and it's Australia.
But you think there would be like only this age to this age can play? You're still in high school? There you go. That's your group.
Well, I mean, like, if you follow baseball at all, there's always stories about like some South American player who seemed a little old for like there have been stories out of like the Little League World Series and stuff. Every few years, some kid who's a couple of years too old to be playing in that group's age.
Yeah, but it's normally
it's usually like a couple of years.
Yeah, it's normally the kid that failed, so he's on the 6th grade team when he's old enough to be on the 7th or 8th grade team. It's normally not, they're on the sophomore team. How old are they? 30?
He's on the local semi-pro team. Like... is this just an intramural game for us 8th graders?
Yeah, it'd be like, I would assume people would be going, what the fuck, if I showed up at a high school football team and started going, okay, so I'm going to be the offensive guard?
Oh, yeah, man. Like, I'm easily big enough to play, like, tackle now. Like, I could go, like, just go ham on Pop Warner.
Oh, yeah. I'm still strong enough that I could be a fucking terrifying lineman in any goddamn position. Especially if I'm going against children.
Oh, man.
People should be going, what the fuck? Why is there a full-grown man with a dwarven beard just absolutely tossing children?
I'm gonna win the pass, punt, and kick competition every year. You know?
Yeah. But it's just, what the fuck? Again, 30 playing with girls who are young enough their parents were complaining.
Okay, Cougar Knife lost me. I never really watched Seinfeld. He says Kramer was the first trans icon. I'm pretty sure the Klinger beat him to the punch.
True. Exactly, cannibalistic. Why is Giant Gimli chasing the quarterback?
That reminds me, mentioning Klinger, I need to get around one of these days. I got the MASH box set.
Nice. The show that lasted longer than the war it was about.
Right? No, once I get the house cleaned up and everything, I need to like reset up the electronics. I got a nice big screen. I'm gonna be just vegging out watching reruns on
Mm-hmm.
because I don't watch any TV anymore.
Oh yeah, a good chunk of it's absolute shit. Though I did see, so there's a webcomic that I used to read back when I was in senior year of high school into college, I think it was, called Lackadaisy, which was a webcomic that the artist that started drawing it originally came up with this plot about 19, I want to say 20s, maybe it was a bit later than that, bootleggers, but couldn't draw people. So they went, fuck it, I'm going to draw them as cats. Lackadaisy was what became of it. It was fucking amazing. And they have the Lackadaisy pilot that was just released not terribly long ago, and it was goddamn amazing. I'm not the normal sort, Talik. I'm not the ones that give everyone else a bad name. I'm just someone who happens to enjoy. But yeah, Lackadaisy was fucking amazing. And the pilot, good God, yes.
No, I've never heard of that.
Oh, it was good. I think I popped in let me quickly double check. I think I slapped the link in one of the sections of the Discord. If not, I will snag it and I will slap it in at some point. But yeah, the animation was nice and smooth. Lackadaisy was always fantastic. Its early days were good. Like I said, the pilot, if you enjoyed the comic, watch the pilot. The pilot was fantastic. And looks like I might not have, so let me find it and I'll slap it in not sure. Because I can't think of where else to throw it. But let me grab the pilot for Lackadaisy so that anyone interested will be able to watch it. Like I said, it is really damn good. It was an interesting premise because it wasn't originally planned as let's make this cat people. It was originally, this is an awesome idea. They started drawing, they have some sketches of the human versions of the characters, and then the artist went, I fucking hate drawing humans. Fuck it. Cats. So I just tossed it in the not sure room of our Discord. And again, it is really goddamn good. Especially with how smooth everything is in the animation and how the characters were portrayed. Laughing at the various discussions going on in chat.
I just saw Monkey retweet a story from the post about it's tangentially related to pro wrestling.
Oh,
And I just, you guys hear about the big acquisition in wrestling?
no, not at all.
The WWE is no longer a family-owned business. It was sold to the same company that owns the UFC.
Oh, it's now owned by Dana White?
Dana White does not own the UFC.
Oh,
He
not.
is just the president.
Oh, yeah, he's the president of it.
I think the company's called Endeavor.
Okay.
But yeah, that's because the UFC was also like a family-owned joint for a while.
Yep.
Until a few years ago when they sold for I can't remember how many billions of dollars.
And I can't remember whether was it right after they started really being able to make a go of it that they sold it? Because
they were the Fertitta brothers owned the UFC. I mean, it changed hands a couple times, but they were the ones that owned it when it like really broke out.
Okay.
And those guys were already rich to begin with because they owned casinos.
Yep. Yeah, because that's how they used to be, or used to have to do everything. It had to be on like Resland and shit like that in order to have the fights.
Well, the whole reason why UFC got hung up in New York for the longest time, why they couldn't do UFC in like Madison Square Garden, was because the Fertittas didn't unionize their casinos. So, but no. So like they sold the UFC for a good chunk of change, then turned around and bought the Oakland Raiders and moved them to Vegas. And Dana White stayed on as the president, and he's the, I guess, front office face, but I can't remember what conglomeration owns. Like I said, I think it's called Endeavor, but Ari Emanuel was one of the guys I think that ended up buying the UFC.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Endeavor CEO Ari Emanuel.
Yep. And if that name sounds familiar to you folks in chat, that's because Jeremy Piven played a version of him on the show Entourage. And he has two famous brothers, one being Zeke Emanuel. He's a doctor. And his brother Rahm Emanuel, former mayor of Chicago and Obama. Was he chief of staff?
I think so. Let me double check. I can.
Is either like chief of staff or campaign manager. I can't remember which one. But yeah, that's one of the guys that owns the UFC now. He's a big Ari's a talent agent.
Chief of staff.
Chief of staff, that's right.
Yeah, and he's the current ambassador to Japan.
I thought we liked the Japanese.
Well, the thing is...
Why would we unleash that on them? We already dropped 2 nukes.
Because they're really nice postings, so they put people that don't really have to have any sort of capability in that post as a, you supported me, here you go. It's kind of like how England does that with their ambassadors to the US. And a lot of our allies do that with their ambassadors to the US. They just put someone who is a political contributor.
Someone they need out of the way.
Normally, it's not someone that they really need out of the way. It's someone that they need to give a position in order to keep them on their side, but they don't want to have it be
Of consequence.
of any real consequence. Exactly. So you don't give them, you don't give someone like that a diplomat position where they're actually going to have to work in order to maintain relations. You do it someplace where you're going, they already like us. They already know us.
That's
As
where you
long
send
as
Ron
they
to
don't
like
fuck it up too
Micronesia or
much.
something. You know, you don't give him Japan.
No, no,
There's
because
stuff actually going on in like, you know,
but the problem is that if you
Southeast
give-
Asia. We might need somebody who's competent.
Well,
The
he
problem
already,
is if
he
you-
already apologized twice for Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So
Wait, really?
yeah,
Nah, fuck that. They started it. See, this
Yeah.
is why he shouldn't be the ambassador.
well, Obama
And also-
Obama apologized.
Yeah, also fuck that, because that's nothing that we should ever have apologized for. Because when you do the calculations that were being done at the time, which is better? A couple 100,000 people dead very quickly, or a million US troops minimum, and
we really
about
don't have
5
to
to
go
6
through.
times that minimum for the Japanese, with
We-
the upper margins being north of 14 million Japanese.
Like I said, we really don't need to go through the numbers of, you know, potential casualties. Fuck that. They started it. You sunk our battleship. We unleashed the power of the sun, motherfucker.
Nice. Whose joke is that?
I don't know. I was just riffing because I'm really tired.
I'm trying to remember whose joke that is, because that line, the "You sank our battleship, we unleash the power of the sun, motherfucker," is the punchline to a comedian's joke, and I can't remember
I
who the
totally
fuck
believe it.
is.
That came off way too smooth to be a Camel original. So like, if you figure it out, let me know.
I
I
want to
don't
say it
remember
might have
seeing
been
that.
Ron White or someone like that.
Maybe. Yeah.
Because that definitely sounds like a Ron White delivery.
I mean, I'm only a couple hours from the border, so I mean, this part of Oklahoma, we sound like Texans and vice versa.
Yeah. But like I said, I think that's a Ron White joke, just because of that motherfucker at the end is a very Ron White delivery.
I mean, I grew up watching Samuel L. Jackson, motherfucker. You know, that I dropped that without even thinking about it.
True.
Yeah, we really like our boats, right? And you don't fuck with those.
But yeah, it's just one of those political appointees that you give them a nice cushy position where they don't really have to do anything, but it sounds important as shit because Japan is one of our major allies. So we give some schmuck who has absolutely no reason to be in the diplomatic corps.
Okay, does Rom even watch anime though? I mean, did anybody ask him that, like for his confirmation hearing or anything?
I'm pretty sure that he would be just quoting back the most insane shit that Twitter does. So he'd be too busy accusing the Japanese of all being pedophiles and shit like that.
Yeah, because that's what you want in an ambassador.
So what is the exact quote?
Huh?
What is
Oh,
the
for the
exact quote?
joke?
Yeah.
The joke is, "You sank our battleships, we unleashed the power of the sun on you motherfuckers."
Frost. Hello, fellow weebs. Yeah, that's probably
That would be
Rom
more
walking
respect.
around Tokyo. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not getting anything.
Hey,
Because-
that may have been a Camel original. Who
It
knows?
might have been. Though, like I said, I'm almost positive it came from someone. I just can't remember who the fuck
Yeah,
said
me. I just said it.
it. No, I mean other than you, jackass.
And until discovered otherwise, it shall remain a Camel original.
Because that pacing was just something
Proof or it didn't happen.
in the back of my mind.
Hey, I literally said these same kind of things to the Japanese exchange students we had at my college. Funny enough, one of them in my philosophy class actually apologized for us dropping the bomb on them.
Yeah, because it was forced. It was the most reasonable outcome. You want to end the war as quickly and as decisively as you possibly fucking can.
Camel accidentally didn't plagiarize. I mean, I've been up for 20 hours straight now, so like, anyway, he could have convinced me that I did plagiarize, and I would have been none the wiser.
I'm still almost positive that someone said it. I just can't remember.
I'm sure there's somebody said something very similar. That's not exactly virgin territory that I'm plowing here.
Very true.
Those bombs are expensive.
Any stories that you guys found? Because I brought up my fucking Riley Dennis one.
I just thought it was interesting seeing this one from the New York Post about the wrestling deal, because before the sale went through this last week,
Mm-hmm.
I'd actually been on a kick of watching like interviews and stuff from pro wrestlers that I watched when I was a kid. A lot of these guys have retired or whatnot, and so like they're giving up the gimmicks and they're talking about like behind the scenes, business dealings and whatnot. And I found that really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But this story, whoa, interesting for a different reason, I guess. A less fun reason. Vicky Guerrero feuding with daughter over sexual assault accusations.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Either one of you guys watch pro wrestling growing up?
Hey, Skep.
I
Hey,
saw
Skep.
bits and pieces. I didn't watch it religiously or anything like that.
Hey,
Skep.
I did as a lad.
So, when you hear the name Vicky Guerrero, does that spark any remembrance?
Yeah. She has a really shrill voice. Shrill.
Yeah, she does. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Vicky Guerrero, for those not in the know, was the wife of pro wrestler Eddie Guerrero, who he passed away. Oh, it's been a while now.
Yeah, it's been quite some time.
But yeah, I used to watch Eddie Guerrero and Chavo Guerrero on WCW.
Mm-hmm.
When I was a kid, and those dudes were they had some moves, man.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There were a couple of the high flyers, at least to a young Camel, that is. But apparently, Vicky Guerrero and her daughter Sherilyn have been feuding because Sherilyn has accused her, I guess now stepfather, which I didn't see the dude's name in the story. But yeah, she accused him of sexual assault when they were on a family cruise back in 2020.
I think you're right. Pat brought it up. He has a video on it.
Yeah, see, I
haven't watched it yet. But
I hadn't seen that, and it showed up in my sub feed. Is that on one of
his
other channels?
Yeah.
On this wrestling channel?
Yeah.
See, I forget about Pat being a wrestling fan.
Oh yeah.
I'm not surprised at all. Like it's just like, oh yeah, that's right, Pat. Yeah. Uh, but usually when I think of Pat, it's like, yeah, he's a degenerate like me. Like Pat knows all about the porn stars. So
Oh yeah, but he also knows about cooking and he knows about wrestling.
he is a modern day Renaissance man.
Yeah.
That is true.
So he eats
Yeah.
far better than you do.
Say what?
He eats far better than you do.
I'm sure he does. Because guess what, Sanguine? I had pizza tonight.
Of course.
Hey, your favorite.
Meanwhile, like I said, I'm going to be having salmon done 3 different ways. All of them are going to be finished with a torch.
I'm not all that crazy about salmon. There's been a couple times I've had it. It's like, oh yeah, that's good, and a couple times like, ugh.
It depends on how it's done, and it depends on the quality of the salmon that you have to hand.
So, Tier says, oh no, that's Terry. Sorry, hadn't paid attention to wrestling since the '90s. I think I finally stopped watching early mid 2000s. Like high school time. But yeah, like after that, couldn't really keep watching it, man. Like I was spoiled as a '90s kid with the pro wrestling. You just flip back and forth, during the Monday Night Wars.
Salmon's awesome.
Terry is not watching wrestling really the way that you repay Macho Man for his sacrifice.
I was gonna say because my friends and I were talking when Macho Man passed.
Yep.
That is definitely a sign that God wants you dead.
Yeah, I forgot about. Remind me.
So you remember the Herald Camping?
The what?
The religious preacher that was saying that he knew when the end of the world was going to be, and he predicted the rapture.
And then when it passed, he had to like recalculate.
Yep. So he predicted it like 6 different times. The last.
Is this the guy that did this? Is this the guy that started the Seventh Day Adventists?
No, I don't believe so. But he predicted it several times in a row. Had to fix it each time, and the last time that he predicted it and it didn't happen, the one thing of note was Macho Man died that day. So, of course, there were a shit ton of jokes that Macho Man prevented the rapture. It was by Macho Man's sacrifice that the world continued.
By the grace of Randy Savage, we avoided the
rapture. Yes, exactly.
The apocalypse.
Well,
there's no trumpets blaring, just a oh yeah.
Exactly.
Now, if I remember correctly, he was driving in his vehicle, and he had a heart attack, and he hit a tree.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, sounds about right.
All within like the same series of events. If I remember correctly, that's without looking at it.
Mm-hmm.
The fire began.
Yes. You guys can hear that?
Yep.
Nice.
It's not subtle.
My salmon needs torture.
It's almost like me asking, like, hey, can you guys hear that when my dog's like just slopping away at the water bowl right behind me?
Yeah, that was Owen Hart, Skep.
Yeah, that was that was like late '90s, wasn't it?
That's ingrained into our brains. I think we were like, watching that one.
Dropped like 70 feet.
On
75 feet. Yeah. And like if you were watching like the live when he dropped, you knew like, oh, he did. There was no like, oh, he's There's no waiting for a thumbs up as they carted him out. Like you knew. You knew also because like they wouldn't like they had the cameras like away.
It's the only time a live show goes to a commercial. Like,
uh, I'm trying to remember if it was like one of the if it was something with the harness or if it was like the connector, from the cable to the harness.
it was, I think, the pulley system. Because it was supposed to lower him, uh, and something happened, and then the pulley system just gave, and so it just dropped him. Because I guess it wasn't like supportive of his weight.
Mm-hmm. And you're about to hear another jet engine.
Well, at the time that happened, like I wasn't as big on WWF as I was WCW. Uh, but I remember like I was really nervous after hearing about that because like one of the wrestlers in WCW, he would do the whole thing where he would come down from the ceiling, Sting, and when he was doing the whole crow gimmick,
Yeah.
and it's like, oh, dude, like I really hope that doesn't happen again. Like I hope the guys over at Turner Broadcasting are like really checking, double checking their work.
Yeah.
Was I part of the? No, um, that 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 gimmick ran way too long.
Yep.
They had like the Wolfpack faction.
Oh, Sanguine fried his connection.
Oh, um, I remember sitting in line at a J.C. Penney's for like 2-3 hours. Got to meet Bill Goldberg and get signed autographs from him. And this is during the streak and everything. That dude looked like a giant. I was like in fourth grade. Looked like a giant. And it was really cool, like having like a big time pro wrestler from Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And so I can officially say I've met at least one Jew. Also,
One gigantic Jew.
yeah, like the outlier of all the Jews.
I think we really lost him this time.
We may have. He's like, oh, they're gonna talk about pro wrestling. I'm just gonna go ahead and cook my salmon
I'm just gonna
and
set
fuck off.
myself on fire.
Yeah, the NWO. That was the finger poke of doom. Uh, that was Kevin Nash and Hulk Hogan, which, like I said, I've been listening to like these different interviews and clips and whatnot, and like a bunch of these guys have podcasts. Stone Cold Steve Austin, he's had podcasts for a while. Kevin Nash has a podcast. I mean, and Jim Ross, he's got one too. Like they've all got podcasts. And oh, there he is.
Sorry about that. Don't know why it went out, but seems my internet went out for a moment.
It's cool to listen to these podcasts like as kind of like nostalgia, you know. But I couldn't imagine being a kid growing up today, trying to be a wrestling fan.
Why is that?
Why? Because they can't keep the gimmicks going. You know, like everyone's on social media, everyone's got podcasts and stuff.
Yeah, but
Like
everyone knew it was fake back
I'm
then
I'm talking
too.
about as a kid. You know, as a kid, you want to believe, man.
Yeah, I'd
You're
say,
seeing them do all this crazy stuff anyway. Like they can't fake gravity. You
I'd
know,
say that it's as easy to be a believer now as it was then. Because back
I
then,
just
everyone was still going around saying it's fake. You know it's fake,
I
right?
disagree a bit, Sanguine. I disagree a bit
Fair
because,
enough.
like I said, you know, it's like before cell phones, right? Like no kid alive today could imagine what it'd be like to go out in the world without a cell phone. You know, when we were kids, you still had that period of time where if you walked out of the house, you were like Kaiser Sose, man. You were just gone into the ether. You
Mm-hmm.
know. So yeah, I mean, it was. I think it was easier to live the characters. Like I would listen to like a bunch of interviews the Undertaker did, where like he was like, "Yeah, man, like I may not have been wearing the hat and the the trench coat, but like if I was out in public, I was wearing it's probably a black coat and like a black hat, and like he's like I can't be on TV one week as the Undertaker, and then like the next week like being seen out in public in like a Hawaiian shirt and flip flops.
So your complaint is less so the in the current age with information that it's harder, but more so they don't commit to the bit.
Well, no, I'm saying that with the ease of information, access, social media, and everyone having a camera with them at all times on their cell phones, they can't commit to the bits as
Oh,
much.
I would say that if all of them were doing what The Undertaker was doing, as you just said, where he would make sure that he was in appropriate clothing constantly, the then people would just have a bunch of pictures of The Undertaker out and about, but it would still be enough to character that it wouldn't be a problem. The problem is when someone completely deviates from their character.
I don't know. Maybe I'm just saying like it was probably easier back then because you didn't have to be the whole time. The world was bigger and smaller.
True, but at the same time, as since you cited him, The Undertaker was already doing that shit. So, well, not everyone was doing that. Well, that's because they weren't committing to the bit as much as he was. And if everyone were committing the way that he was, then it wouldn't be a problem.
Well, it's not necessarily that they weren't all committing. They all had different bits.
Oh yeah,
His bit was to be dark and brooding and don't talk much and be kind of creepy.
yeah, but I'm saying that
You
it's
can't have Hulk Hogan going through every airport ripping his shirt off. Like, hey brother.
no, but you can have them act in ways that is consistent with their bit. It's the reason why a lot of people get pissed off at various celebrities because every time that they've seen them in a movie or seen them in something, especially like Bill Nye the Science Guy, people looked at Bill Nye that were of a certain age and they went, yeah, Bill Nye's cool. He's a nice guy. And then people started getting all these, no, Bill Nye's an asshole.
He's an engineer. He's not
And
a
it
science guy.
pissed people off because that's a deviation from
A known reality. Unless we lost him again.
I don't know. He just went quiet.
I'm just gonna watch him disappear.
Well,
wrong tier for the exact same reason.
The thing is
there he is.
that when you have that deviation, it
Hold,
pisses people off.
hold on a second there, Sanguine.
Yep.
Were you
I
talking
heard
this
that-
entire time?
Yes, and part of it was me calling you guys assholes because I was watching everything, and then I clicked over and I saw people were saying that they couldn't hear me in chat either, and I went, oh shit. It's actually that they can't hear me. It's not just them being dicks.
Yeah, we lost you at deviation, and then it just silent.
So, you have people like Bill Nye the Science Guy, where everyone thought that they knew who Bill Nye the Science Guy was when it came to his personality, because he's the funny science man. And then stories started coming out that no, Bill Nye was an asshole in person.
This is why you never trust a man in a bow tie.
And that started getting people pissed off because they had this view that he was nice, funny science man. And turns out that no, he's an asshole. And then you have other people that they had the reputation of being absolute sweethearts. And then people met them and they were absolute sweethearts. And those people didn't have any problem. There was no backlash against that. It's committing to the bit, or ideally, don't really have a bit that is entirely different from you. Because if people see you and how you put yourself forward in the world, and you're a nice guy, and they meet you and you're a nice guy, then they go, holy shit, he's the same as he appeared. And people like you more. If you're a bit of an asshole, and then people meet you, and you're still a little bit of the asshole, they're going, oh, yeah, that was true to form.
Well, Tyr does make a good point in chat. It says gang girl would have been fucked in the modern age. And if you don't know who that is, Sanguine, he was a pro wrestler that his shtick was he was a vampire.
Yeah, I don't think anyone truly believed that he was a vampire. Like I said, you stick to the shtick that you can. If it's, okay, you're an alien? Yeah, you aren't. You're a vampire? You aren't. If your shtick is that you're dark, brooding, and creepy, be dark, brooding, and creepy. And everyone will go, yep, that's who the fuck he is. If you're supposed to be nice, be nice. And people will go, yep, that's who he fucking is. You just have to make it so that you aren't a complete deviation. And people are really forgiving.
But yeah, it was cool. Like I said, getting to meet Goldberg. But now it's like seeing some of these other wrestlers talking. I was like, oh man, that kind of sucks. Apparently, he wasn't a very good wrestler.
Oh yeah.
Because like
How was he not a good wrestler though? Was he an asshole? Was he?
No, he just wasn't safe to work with.
Oh, so he was hurting people.
He ended Bret Hart's career.
Yep. So an asshole that was hurting people.
No, he not necessarily an asshole. He was just, you know,
Just inept.
He would,
Because if you're hurting people, you have the choice of, are you an asshole because you're doing it purposefully, or are you inept because you're doing it by accident?
well, with the Bret Hart one, that one's probably he was just too green. Like he hadn't been in the business that long, so that may have been ineptitude. But like when he wrestled like the Undertaker, he concussed himself, and then he went to go do his signature move, and he couldn't pull it off.
Well, he went to Tombstone, the Undertaker, and completely.
No, he went to
Oh, that's
Jackhammer.
right. That's right, because yeah, that's.
There
was
you're
another.
thinking of Steve Austin.
That was another one. No, there was another one where someone tried to do the Undertaker's move on him, and because he rung his own bell, he almost dropped him on his neck. Like
Somebody else did drop him on his neck.
well, yeah, but the one that I was thinking of, they almost did. Like it was like just by the skin of his teeth that he didn't end up landing on top of his head.
Well, I mean the one with Goldberg though, like yeah, he dropped him on his neck trying to do the jackhammer.
Yeah, because he dove through.
Because he concussed himself on one of the turnbuckles.
Well, on the ring post. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Apparently, he had concussed himself in a match with Diamond Dallas Page too. He went to deliver the spear, and the first thing that hit the mat was his face.
So sounds like inept was the bigger than an asshole. It was more he was just fucking inept.
I mean, listening to the Undertaker talking about pro wrestling, he says, I mean, even when things go perfectly right, you're a few inches away from disaster.
Oh yeah.
So
It's
it may like some of it may have been ineptitude, some of it may have just been tough luck tonight, man. You know,
it's live stunt work. Of course, it's going to
Yeah,
be dangerous.
and that's why when I look back at it, like I still have the warm remembrance of it. It's like, yeah, man, I got to see some dudes doing crazy stunts live.
Yep.
This wasn't like a movie where they had however many takes to get it right, and
Yeah.
like no, these guys they were having to pull this shit off like in the moment, and I got to see it as it was happening.
It's a action stage play
And
where it is just action constantly, effectively, versus a normal stage play that has action. You might get a fencing scene, but it's fairly short. This is nope. The entire thing is action.
like here's a name that I will throw out there that like most people will not recognize. You'd have to be like a diehard fan from back in the day to remember this guy's name. His name is Billy Kidman.
I remember him.
You remember him? Yeah.
Yep.
I remember watching that dude like week in and week out. His finishing move was the shooting star press. Yeah. Tock remembers him. THUR. Yeah.
He was with Tori Wilson.
I remember him from the days when he was with the Flock, with Raven and the others.
His heroin
Their
addiction.
grunge phase.
Yeah.
Like that dude didn't look like he washed his hair ever.
He was a recovering he was a smackhead.
Well, I mean, would you blame him if he was?
No.
Me neither, man. He's jumping off the top rope and like moonsaulting, onto another guy every week.
Almost landing on his face.
I probably did land on his face more than a few times. I mean, hell, like Brock Lesnar, he did that once too. Like, and that's a big difference between him and Billy Kidman.
Oh yeah.
We're talking like at least 100. How much weight difference do you think there is between Brock Lesnar and Billy Kidman, Johnny?
I will look this up now.
because like Brock Lesnar had to cut weight to be a heavyweight in the UFC,
Let's see,
and
Brock
the weight limit
Lesnar's
is like
265.
265. That's him cutting weight. He's probably walking around the WWE like 280, 290.
Maybe low threes.
But yeah, Billy Kidman is probably
195 pounds.
I was gonna say he's like under 200. So maybe about 100 pounds difference, easy. And Brock did land on his head. And then he got right back up and just went back to work. Dude's a machine. But yeah, that's all I've got for the night is just, talk about old wrestling. I haven't been keeping up, it's my days off. I have not been keeping up with any of the news. I mean, what's the point, really? There's no such thing as good news anymore, so it's either all bad or boring. One of the two.
Yeah.
Or bad and boring. You left out that possibility.
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, I suppose it could be both. It could be boring how bad it is, I suppose.
Or just boring in and of itself, because there's a lot of shit that's boring as hell. And it can still be bad. Like, talking about the economy. Talking about the economy can be boring as shit. The economy's not in a good place right now.
Well, talking about politics in general, like, I will start off interested in whatever I'm trying to think, but, like, I'd say within...
You quickly glaze over.
Yeah, within 15 minutes, I'm just like, all right, we're on to the next topic. Like, I don't even care.
Yep. There's still people trying to prevent people from figuring out why the shooting happened from last week, which is interesting, especially since the people that are trying to prevent the manifesto from coming out, it kind of tells you what everyone agrees is most likely in that manifesto is probably in that manifesto.
Yeah.
My question is, why did the FBI need to look at it first? Why couldn't we all look at it at the same time? What are they doing that they need time alone with it to draw conclusions?
So, do you want the charitable or do you want the uncharitable?
Yeah, let's be charitable first. Why not?
So
Change of
charitable,
pace.
They're trying to see if there's any additional threat that if they released ahead of time, it would hasten the threat. Because if he wasn't acting alone, if there was plans for additional, then releasing that info could cause it to happen quicker.
Are they worried about like a Manchurian trans or something? Like hearing a code word?
So that's where... That's the charitable, that there's a possibility that it wasn't just him, that it could be him and additional people. So be careful about releasing that info because it could hasten an additional attack before anyone's in place to handle it. That's the charitable. The uncharitable, they're seeing if there's anything that they need to scrub.
I mean, I
don't really feel
like calling the shooter a him. I saw the footage. I saw the way they handled that weapon. That's a chick. She shoots like a girl.
So was it a trans man or a trans woman? Because
it was a woman who had as far as I saw, they identified as male online. Like,
Ah,
I don't
okay.
know if there was any actual transition.
It was a inverted Riley Dennis.
Because I had heard that it was a trans woman, and I had heard that it was a trans man. I just defaulted to he. Because it seemed like no one fucking knew what the hell it was.
Well, like after the shooting, like they were identifying this person as female originally, and they're like, oh well,
Yep.
online, like, and then of course people on Twitter started losing their shit. Online, they identified, and like, I don't care what they identify as. A shot kid, fuck
I
them.
think you're confusing two instances.
Are we talking about the Christian school shooting?
The Christian school shooting was one of them, and that one I'm not sure if it was a he or a she, but the one where people started getting bent out of shape because the police had misgendered them was the would-be cop killer.
Would-be cop killer?
Yeah, there was another shooting at about the same time where it was another trans person, and when the news story came out, there was a police officer that was shot, sent to the hospital, and was in critical condition.
Oh, no! Are you thinking about the Cop City in Georgia?
No, I'm talking about there was a trans... I want to say that one was a trans man. And there was a plan that they put in place where they were going to ambush police officers. They successfully ambushed one police officer. Then they got domed by another.
I had not
Wait,
heard
no.
about this.
They killed themselves. Sorry, that one they killed themselves.
Yeah, I missed this one entirely.
There was the report from the police spokesperson where they misgendered the trans person, and people started just absolutely viciously attacking the police department, saying that they're a bunch of transphobes because they had dead named the person and that they were using the wrong gender, and it was
same thing happened with the Nashville shooter. Same.
Oh, okay, that happened as well.
It happened with both of them then.
Okay.
I'm not familiar with the story you're talking about, but the same thing happened with the...
It's just copy and paste.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I just remember that one, and I remember my first thought when people started attacking the spokesperson because you dead named them, and I'm going, they're fucking dead. Every name for them is a dead name.
Yeah, yeah. Well, for me, I guess my philosophy on it is, regardless of how the person identifies, so on and so forth, they're a mass shooter. And if we're going to talk about them at all, in media, it should be with mockery and ridicule.
Yep.
For too long, we've had these people plastered all over TV screens and news reports. What was their motivation? Did they let's go through their manifestos? Like, no, like, stop giving them oxygen. Ridicule these motherfuckers to the point to where nobody wants to do that shit again. Bring back some shame. Like, okay, you're going to kill a bunch of people. Guess what? For the rest of eternity, anytime anyone mentions your name, yeah, just make it mud.
Yeah, I agree with a certain extent of that. There is some utility in being able to research what the motivation was. But the thing that pisses me off every time is how many times the killer says that part of their motivation was to be a bigger killer than insert other fuckhead here.
Yeah, there's that, and there's also like, oh well, I'm gonna have some kind of fame, even if I'm dead. And it's like, well, oh, you want to be famous? Guess what?
Yeah.
We're gonna make you famous for all the wrong reasons.
I
We're
would
gonna
make it so that you
either
can
don't
still.
talk about them at all, you know, or go complete 180 and just comb through every aspect of their life to find something to just oh oh you wet the bed until you were 13, did you?
Yep.
Oh, guess
See,
you probably shouldn't have killed a bunch of people because now we're going to talk about that ad nauseum.
see, what I want to do is I want to scrub their name from public record, just stick in some pejorative in its place.
Mr. Piss Pants.
Yeah, it would be a pejorative and then a number. So it would be like Shrimp Dick 27 or something else. Not even all that intelligent of an insult, just a blatant insult that isn't at all poetic, isn't at all appealing, and then a number designation.
But don't put
But
them on the fucking cover of like Rolling Stone, you know?
oh yeah, I wouldn't allow them to gain fame from it, which is why I strip them of their name. This is the way that you refer to them. And then go through and make it so that, yeah, you can research the guy or woman or whatever the fuck and figure out the why, but you will refer to them as Piss Pant 27, Shrimp Dick 38, whatever the fuck it is, in everything. Because I absolutely agree. Make it so that there's no notoriety, so that they aren't remembered. Just have it be the crime can be remembered, because crime should be remembered. There were victims. They deserve to be remembered. And have it so that we can figure out why shit happens. But let's not ignore the fact that so many of them say, well, I want to be a bigger killer than the number of them that have said, I want my name to be bigger than Klebold and Harris.
Well, see, here's the
And
thing.
people are still trying to say, well, that isn't really a factor in it. Are you kidding me? They're saying it's a factor in it. What the fuck do you mean?
As a 90s kid, I mean, you could stack dead bodies as high as you want to. There's never going to be a school shooting that has the same kind of cultural impact as Columbine.
Mm-hmm.
You're chasing the dragon if that's your motivation,
Yeah.
is to be bigger than that. Because guess what? I am 34 years old and I have not seen a trench coat since 1999, motherfucker. You are not topping that.
I see.
Okay,
all the time,
you-
but I think that's just Montana.
Maybe it is.
And the other thing that pisses me off about it is, can we, when we look into the shit, be entirely honest with what we see when we look into it? Because the number of people that have tried to make, for instance, Columbine killers tragic stories. No, fuck them. They aren't tragic. There are others that you could argue, well, they had a really rough time, but still, they made the decision to kill people. Fuck them. But if we're going to have this, let's look into why they did it. Let's actually look into why people do it, not just look into making another myth.
It's because she's not a man, baby. They got nothing there.
With all these stories though, it's just so lazy, the analysis that comes out of them. It's usually it's either guns or the amorphous mental health. No one ever digs deeper.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying that mental health is obviously these people are mentally deranged. They're shooting up schools and grocery stores and
See,
nightclubs and whatever else.
I
These are
disagree
not
with that
well
assessment.
people.
I disagree with that assessment because there are absolutely people that they have nothing that is diagnosable about their mental health that are just fucked up. And we've seen it before in history. So they killed someone, so they had to be mentally unwell. No, fuck that. That's not true.
No, not necessarily that they killed someone. It's like the indiscriminate killing of just going to a public place and just opening fire is like
Even
yeah,
then,
that's yeah, you gotta have a screw loose for that, in my opinion.
I disagree. There's people that have done as bad or worse without any diagnosable issue.
I'm not talking about something you're gonna find in the DSM-5 saying when necessarily.
Oh, so you're just using it as like a shorthand for their fucking evil?
Well, either having a screw loose, yes, or being evil. Take your pick. I mean, something does not compute,
Yeah.
and I I tend to say, that they've got something going on. 'Cause when you say evil, of course, that good and evil tends to end up in some kind of philosophical or theological discussion, and I don't see that fixing the problem. But I mean, like I said, it never gets any deeper than guns bad or mental health.
And part of the problem is when it comes to that doesn't go any deeper than mental health is if you try to offer that as an explanation, you're promptly shouted it down. Because it's far more likely that's the source of it than it is that it's guns, but you saying it's guns is more acceptable most of the time.
Well, I mean, you know, wasn't terribly long ago. Maybe a generation or two at the most. Kids were taking their guns to school, like because they were hunting
Mm-hmm.
before school. Nobody was getting shot then.
Actually, my high school was such an example.
Yeah, and there were schools that had
Or they're taking
gun
like
clubs.
gun club or Boy Scouts or what have you.
Hell, one of the schools that I went to had a full target range in the basement.
They have a ROTC program or anything like that, or is it just
They
hey,
used to have a rifle team,
okay,
and then the rifle team was killed. But the
was
school,
this before or after 1999? Sanguine?
the rifle team wasn't a thing when I went to the school, sadly.
So I'm gonna say this is probably post 99.
At the very least, it was post 99. It might have happened before that, even. But they stopped having a rifle team. And then they just sealed off the old range.
They
But
didn't
the
even like
range was still there.
repurpose it?
Nope.
That seems like a waste of space.
Just sealed it off. So there was, I think, still signage even saying that it was the rifle range. And it was just sealed off.
That's a shame.
Mm-hmm. Shit, that should be something that comes back. One of the ways that you prevent people from doing stupid shit with guns is you teach them about guns.
Yeah. I mean, they're not going to be as scary if you actually know how they work and everything, how to
Mm-hmm.
operate. I think a lot of it is just a lot of the fear is just ignorance.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really only just started shooting like because I've growing up. I've only shot rifles.
Mm-hmm.
When we got our handgun, uh, it was moderately intimidating because, of course, it is a weapon you have.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm far more comfortable with it now than I was when I started.
Mm-hmm. You have to get it. You have to start using it. Because then it becomes something that you aren't afraid of. You're respectful of. And that's the thing. We have a lot of people that are afraid of weapons without being respectful. And then the people that actually know them are respectful without being afraid, as they fucking should be. Because it's always the people that it's their first time touching a gun that they'll point it at someone else.
Oh no! First time I
That they'll
touched a
point
gun,
it at themselves.
I was pointing it at the ground. I was not
Mm-hmm.
I was not taking any chances of flagging anybody the first. No.
That's because you were respectful of it.
I knew that one wrong move and I could end up cutting my friend in half with a 12 gauge.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was funny because I wanted my dad to have me try shooting the shotgun,
Mm-hmm.
and he goes, "All right, you want to hold this?" And he opens up his gun case, pulls out one of the shotguns, taught me how to hold it, and I held it up, and he had his hand on the barrel,
Mm-hmm.
and I go, he goes, okay, so I'm gonna let this go, and this will let me know if you can shoot this. And he let the barrel go, and like the barrel dropped, and then I was able to like kind of like slowly pick it back up, and he goes, "Yeah, you're not shooting this thing."
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's smart, but at the same time, like I can imagine when we were growing up, that time frame is like, your dad at least thought about letting you just fire one off to see if you'd still be in your shoes with the recoil.
Well, the shotgun
Mm-hmm.
was longer than I was tall, so
So
how
no,
much?
you wouldn't have been.
No, not even close. But I think we are gonna have to call it soon.
Yeah, I'm starting to fade a bit. I'm getting to about 21 hours. I fell asleep at my desk, Sanguine, because I thought Johnny and I were going to be streaming last night.
Mm-hmm.
Miscommunication. I I assumed, and we all know what that means.
You make an ass out of you and Uma Thurman, or me and Uma
Well,
Thurman. That's the.
uh, well, I mean, if I can quote the Long Kiss Goodnight, I made an assumption, which makes an ass out of you and umption.
Nice.
So, but yeah, because I thought we were going to be streaming, you know, earlier in the evening. I tried to stay awake after work
Mm-hmm.
and running errands and whatnot, and I made it to about 6 o'clock
Mm-hmm.
p.m. my time, and then I woke up. It's like 3:30 in the morning, and like my neck was kinked and like my back hurt. And I was like, ah.
Mm-hmm.
No, unfortunately, like I didn't fall asleep like with my head on the desk. Like I fell asleep with like, my head back. Like I was like reclined back in the chair. And oh man, yeah, it was not fun. Like getting up to go to the bathroom. So yeah, I think it's probably time. I go to bed. I'm sleepy.
But yeah, I think we'll. Because I was talking with Dax, uh, shot him a message or two. He's off Thursday, Fridays,
Ah, okay.
so I'm thinking that we will have to turn it into a minion stream.
Yeah, that'd be good. We could have Far join us and regale us with her knowledge of Christery.
Yes. For notice, we will be doing a because we've been doing it on my stream called Educating the Assholes.
Yeah, but that was all with Ralph and
Well,
that nonsense.
Ralph
And
and
Keffels.
Keffels, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of like looking at drama from kind of a distance with people who actually know what they're talking about. For people who
And
don't,
Far is your Christorian.
Far is our
She is the resident Christorian. Yes.
our librarian, if you will, into the story that is Chris Chan.
Yeah, I've only really got the highlights, and that's just from like osmosis of being on the internet.
Yeah,
I've heard other people talk about some stuff. It's like, okay, that's weird. And then, hearing like what's like a 70 some odd part document. I was like, no, I'm not. I am not investing that much time to figure out all the goings on.
yeah.
So I'll let somebody else tell me about it. Somebody else can watch a 70-part documentary, but
Yeah, becoming a Christorian is not for everyone.
no. I've already seen enough weird shit on the internet. There's only so much space you can devote to staring into the abyss.
But yeah, I think it'll probably just end up being a minions thing rather than from my own, because yeah, scheduling is quite possibly the funnest part of everything, which is why I don't do it.
Yeah, you should become Christorically literate, but you don't need to become a proper Christorian.
Yeah, I don't need to be fluent.
Yeah. As long as you know the high points, which are all low points, let's be perfectly fucking honest.
I gave my coworker the other night like an elevator pitch as to what we were going to be talking about. And this is like a 22-year-old kid, so he's just looking at me like, what?
Did you mention the dimensional merge?
No. I hit, like I said, I hit the very, very highest of high points. Sonichu, and then was it the boyfriend-free girl, and fucking his mom.
Yep. Yeah, there's the Sonichu, which I'm not sure how you mentioned Sonichu without mentioning the dimensional merge.
Again, I don't know all of this stuff, Sanguine.
So
I'd heard of the Sonichu. I didn't know about the dimensional merge.
the dimensional merge, the short version of it, is he thinks that...
Save it for next Thursday. I'm tired.
Okay.
But yeah, we'll see about.
Remind me about the dimensional merge next week.
We will.
I'm sure if we don't remind you, Far will probably bring it up on her own.
Copy that.
But yeah, I think other than that, did anyone have anything else they got going on other than Sanguine hosting tomorrow?
Yep, I should still be hosting tomorrow. And if anything changes, I'll make sure that I let people know.
All right. But with that...
But other than that, just my parting words of if you're passionate about something, make sure
God
that you
damn it.
devour it. Don't let it devour you. And fuck you for trying to skip over.
I was hoping he was going to call me first this time.
Actually, I was just going to skip the whole thing.
Yeah, he was going to skip it. So I decided to jump in and say, fuck that.
One of
Do
these
you
days,
have any
Sanguine.
parting thoughts
One of
there,
these
Camel?
days. I guess I'll go with what I've been using as my standard here lately.
Here,
Never miss a good opportunity to shut up.
Here, I'll mute Sanguine. You can use it.
No, it's got to be a surprise.
I was really expecting you to instead steal his camel and do the I don't like pain, it hurts me.
I'll get around to that eventually, but like,
Which, Johnny, now what is your parting words going to be?
The immortal words, I don't like pain. It hurts me.
You shameless cunt.
Absolutely. Have a good night, everyone. The zoo is closed.
Have a good night, all.
bye everybody.
I have no shame.